What's up, my fellow creepers and things that go bump in the night? Welcome back to another episode of Creature of the Night. I am your host, Toxin, your friendly neighborhood sinner. You should know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, ding that little bell to let you know every time I upload so you can keep up to date with me. We did this 1979 version. Let's do the 2024 version, Salem's Lot. Diving right into this, if you haven't seen my original, my review of the original one, go ahead and check that out. But just a brief rundown. It did follow the stories very similar. It is a writer who comes to town after being gone for so many years, since he was 9 years old, and something creepy follows him with him. There is an evil in the town that slowly starts taking over, and we come to realize, guys. Again, this is my spoiler-free review, so if you don't want to check out my this is my spoiler review. If you want to check out my spoiler-free review, click in the link below in the description for my TikTok link and go follow me over there. So, it is vampires, guys. Again, a small town, everybody's up in everybody's business. It's really hard to believe that, something got in undetected. Even from the original, which I forgot to mention in the original one, that there is a local drunk that he kind of seen everybody. He's seen all the affairs. He knows who's arrived at what time and what room they're staying, what they're all about. So I feel like with that and all that, there's no way that somebody could have got something in without them noticing. But it follows the same thing. This person opens up an antique shop. Again, small town, that is the equivalent of a mall or a new amusement park opening up around for us. So there's really nothing to do but, hey, let's go see an antique shop. But again, nowadays it would raise a lot of red flags. And we never meet the guy who actually does all the buying. We just meet the guy who can appraise everything, and he's setting up shop typically. So yeah, if you are familiar with the original one, yeah, it's almost to the T. But one thing I would say, they did not wait 30-45 minutes into the movie to introduce Mr. Barlow. They were bringing him in right off the back. Action is jumping, boom, boom, boom. It is a steady pace of everything happening. It did not wait. Again, I know that's for the time, it worked, it did what it did, but I feel like you didn't need 3 hours to tell the same story. This one did it perfectly well. And I hate to say it because I don't want to sound like a civilian, but it was very action-packed, a very quick pace. It kept you engaged the entire time. I feel like with the original, I was kind of dozing off a little bit. So yeah, I will do a versus. I want to do a versus for this one, definitely, just because it's a Stephen King.
Praise the GOAT! The GOAT!
But essentially what this one does, and I know it's a more modern day, they made it look, I don't want to say 3D, but they gave depth to everything that they lit. The color scheme, the color palette, and the way they lit this film was very, very different, very dramatically different than the original. Again, I know the times are going, it has to do with that, but it just didn't look flat. It didn't look very theatric. Even with the acting nowadays, it just looked more realistic. I felt like I was actually watching real people versus with the original, where I felt like I was watching a Broadway play or something like that. So essentially, they do it. They did cut out a lot of the things which I said in the original, that we got a lot of backstory with each and every townsfolk. This one, they did mix it up. They kind of took away the secretary who was having an affair, and they didn't make the real estate agent as attractive as they did in the old days. And now, instead of an elementary school person, Ben Myers actually falls in love with the secretary of the real estate agent. So that's a whole thing. So they kind of took out the whole moving people aspect of how they moved the crate, which I want to discuss that too. How crazy is it? Bram Stoker's the Voyage of the Demeter, and some other vampire movies, that they always travel by crate. It's a crate full of of dirt, and that's how they travel. It often has their coffin in it, or the crate itself with the dirt, because the dirt is of their land of where they were born, and that's how they rejuvenate or whatever. It's always filled like that. The whole crate itself is its coffin. And I want to do a good shout out to the way they made the head of vampire look, Mr. Barlow. He looked less like Nosferatu, more like Guillermo del Toro's The Strain, or Guillermo del Toro's, I believe Guillermo did this one too, the Blade 2. Of how Nomak and all those vampires looked like. He made the elder vampires look this way, like the head honchos. look this way. They were bald, pointy ears, all rows of teeth, and like all sharp teeth, except besides the front two fangs being the main driver, his whole teeth was like a goddamn shark. And I get the more of like the Mediterranean vampire from the remake of Fright Night. How they went into it, yeah, it's like instead of being more vampire like, they were more shark like, they were more vicious, and that's what it did too. It was a lot more gory. It was a lot more killing, like more visual killings. They still kept a lot of the aspects of the original. The kids floating out the window, the way they did it now with all the fog and everything, it still looked crazy. It still looked good, just as good as the original. And the lights in their eyes were fucking freaky. I know there's a lot of hardcore Stephen King fans out there, so let me know down in the comments what you thought about that. And what, honestly, I want to hear your opinion. What did you think about them updating it? I know a lot of people hate when they remake a movie. You don't need it, just leave it alone. I feel like, arguably, I always say that you do leave the original alone. This is one of the ones that I do prefer the remake than the original.
He good. You must be crazy.
This one, it just had everything. Even the soundtrack, in my opinion, sounded better. Visually, it looked more beautiful. The acting was more on point. And yes, I did get a few backstories of the townfolk, not as much as the other one. But then again, too, we didn't need everybody's backstory. I think the fact that you are going into a small town and you already know, dude, people are in people's business. Like, there's no secrets here. I could already go into that with the movie knowing, like, it's going to take place in a small town. So I didn't need everybody's extra shit in there that didn't really drive the story. This one, we got introduced to the main cast. Even the love interest of his secretary, the person who still was in love with her, they didn't really emphasize on it. There wasn't a fight scene between him and the main character. So yeah, we just didn't really need it. Like, there was like a short part where the mom is kind of going crazy because she lost her husband, which, all of us have felt lost in our life, and we kind of hang on to the family members that we still have, and we don't want them to let them go. Although she took it to a goddamn new level, becoming the new servant of Mr. Barlow, and try to sacrifice her daughter to becoming a vampire so she could just keep her around and she would never leave. Crazy.
What?
I know. And guys, shout out to Mark on this. I think his name is Mark or Mike on this film. The kid, the kid who's like obsessed with like Houdini magic and all the horror aspects. You need one of those friends. You need one of those friends in your life, because he could tell you what to do and what not to do to survive a goddamn scary movie.
Formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
But yeah, guys, shout out to him. He fucking went hard. He was not scared at all. He was willing to go toe to toe with Mr. Barlow. They killed his parents. They killed his friends. He wanted revenge. He was killing everybody in this goddamn film. Oh my God, the way he helped Ben Myers, because Ben was kind of a little bitch in this one. I just want to point that out. I know he's a writer, but I was like, not all writers are like pushovers or don't know what to do in situations. He writes, books. Like, I'm pretty sure he knows some knowledge to survive a certain situation. But this one, Mike saved him by like knocking down the whole projector screen of a drive-in movie theater to save his life, so that way when it came down, the sun shined through, and it was just crazy. I was like, dude, this was like, as soon as Mike got introduced, it was just heavy. He was fighting the local bully, he was fighting a new bully, the vampire that was trying to take over the town, and all his friends that became vampires, he was fighting them too. Like, it was great. He was fucking badass in this film. And one thing that the original did that I would have preferred this one, just because they kind of just drive off into the night together. Like, I know that already sounds suspect.
What did he say?
But they kind of drive off because they're the only remaining survivors. And that's kind of like where they leave it. The original, it does show, like, dude, they made it all the way down to, like, Guatemala, I believe it said. Like, they're trying to outrun these vampires that are now after them because they did kill a head vampire. So I thought, like, I wanted to know, okay, well, where are they going to go from here? Like, they could set it up to, I don't want a sequel. You don't need a sequel of this, but it would have been cool to see where they would go. Like, maybe it could be a short film or something. Like, what the troubles that they are having. I could say that for the original one, though, too, because it's like a cut of 2 years later, and like I said, they're in Guatemala, and Susan, his love interest, is the one who, like, comes and tries to get him, but he has to kill her, too. So, like, I don't know. It would have just been cool just to see what would have been next for Ben and Mike, or Mark, whatever his name is. yeah, guys, like I said, it was visually stunning. It sounded beautiful. I like the soundtrack. I feel like it was very more well lit. Like it just there was a lot of depth to the scenes. There was a lot more color to the scenes. The color palette was great. The acting, in my opinion, were a little bit more great. It was again. I feel like you're watching like real life scenario versus something you would see on theater. If you're if theater actor, then you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, guys, overall, I'm gonna give it 2 thumbs up. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I know that's really high rating, especially since I just did the original. Excuse me, I did the original rating at, I think I did it 1 thumbs up and I think a 5 or 6 or something like that. I don't know, guys. This one did it for me. The sequel was a lot better than the original. I'm sorry to say, guys. You know, come at me if you want to, bro.
Bring it on! Bring it on!
But yeah, guys, that's all I have for you. Keep an eye out. I will be doing a versus video. I haven't done one in a really long time, so I'm looking forward to editing a montage for that. But yeah, I would definitely go into comparison with that film. But yeah, keep an eye out for that, guys. And like I always say, if you're not sinning, you're not having fun. Beware the moon, guys.